All right, friends, today we are going to learn how to be experts at Animation Desk. So this is going to be a quick tutorial, probably best suited for my elementary school children. So I'm going to start my first animation. So I'm going to obviously open up the Animation Desk app, and I'm going to hit this little plus so I can start a new animation. Now I have a couple different options. Storyboard is what if you want to organize your animation a little bit more. We're going to just jump right in. So I'm going to hit new sequence. We're going to do just a quick little animation of a flower. So I'm going to call it flower 2 since I already did an animation earlier that was called flower 1. So down here at the bottom, you'll see that I'm playing with the duration and the amount of frames. I'm going to just bump it down to 1 minute. That's going to seem really short, but stop motion animation kind of takes so long that 1 minute will really be a lot of frames. You can mess with the amount of frames that you use. We're just going to stay with 12 for now. I can definitely add or delete frames as I go. So we'll stick with 12. It's totally changeable. And then down by the right, there is a little option, and it's called FPS. That stands for frames per second. So if you want to make an animation that has a lot of action, that moves pretty quickly, you want to bump up the amount of frames per second. And that's going to bump down the duration of your video. Okay. So let's just stick with 12 for now. We can fix this later if we're not happy with it. So I'm going to hit start. All right, so we're going to kind of go through the toolbar really quickly. So this right here is the onion skin. So the onion skin kind of gives us information from each frame. So whatever I draw on this frame, we'll see ever so slightly on the next frame. That helps keep us organized. All right, then we have the up arrow and the down arrow. That's going to help me go up and down throughout my frames. This is going to be the add a frame button. So you'll see that I have 1 out of 12 right now, but maybe if I want to add a frame, it'll be out of 13. But if I want to stick with 12, I'm going to just go ahead and hit this button, which is the delete frame button. So I'm going to delete it. Yep. And then it'll bring you back to 12 total frames. This is my backwards and forwards button. So if I draw something and I don't like it, let's just go back. Oh, maybe I did like it. Going to go forward. Okay. All right. So down here, we have our toolbar. Okay. There's 3 different ways to view the toolbar. 3 different things on it. This one is obviously all your color swatches. I'm going to hit on it again. This is going to be all my kind of art tools. So I can play with the opacity, the lightness and the darkness. I can play with the size, really tiny or really big. Okay. This is my paint bucket. Ink if you want a more precise animation. The brush option is really cool because if you have a stylus like me, it really responds to the amount of pressure that you put on it. And then the pencil. But let's erase all this because there's a lot of mumbo jumbo going on the screen. Oop, so it's taking me a long time to erase, so I'm going to bump up the size of my eraser, and it'll take me a lot less time. Now, like I said, I'm using a stylus, so this is a little bit more precise, but you could definitely use this with your finger as well. Okay. All right, let's see. So you'll notice that you can barely see this, and if I go to erase it, oop, if I go to erase this, it's not erasing. So that shows me that all this writing isn't actually on the first frame. It's actually on the second frame. So I'm going to go back and erase it. All right, now, because I want to start my animation from the beginning, I'm going to go back to the first frame and I'm going to get started. So I'm just going to do a simple animation of a flower. So on my first frame, I'm just going to draw a little bit of a stem. That's all I need. I want to make it kind of smooth and make it look like it's gradually growing. So I'm just going to add with each frame a little bit of growth to my stem at a time. So that's all I need for the first frame. I'm going to bump down to the second frame. You see my onion skin? That's going to show me where I need to kind of take off. Okay. Down to the third. Now it doesn't have to be totally precise. And then maybe I'll start like a little leaf too. All right, now let's say that I'm happy with the stem and I don't want to add anything more to the stem, but I want to continue my stem throughout all of my frames. So what I'm going to do, instead of drawing the stem over and over and over again, I'm going to use this tool that we actually didn't talk about. This tool right here. That's the copy and paste tool. So I'm going to kind of lasso around what I want to copy. Obviously hit copy. And then do you see how I'm on the 5th frame? I'm going to go down to the 6th frame, hit paste, 7th frame, paste, 8th frame, paste, 9th frame, paste. There's an easier way to do this, but we're not gonna do the easy way because that's gonna take us away from our screen right now. All right, so I have my stem pasted on every single slide now. So I'm gonna go all the way back to the frame I was originally working at. All right, so I copied it from the 5th slide, so I'm gonna go back to the 5th slide. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make it look like my flower is kind of gaining petals. So I'm gonna draw one petal, move to the next frame. Oop, I forgot to add the center of my flower. That's kind of important. All right. Okay. All right. Now I can see with the onion skin where my first petal was. Now I'm gonna add a second petal. And then add my flower. Now, if I wanted to, I could kind of copy and paste the petals too, so I didn't have to draw them over and over again. But since it's so small, that's not really something that I mind doing. Down to the 8th frame. And then go down. All right, we only have one more petal to go. With each frame, I kind of go a little bit faster. Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right, excellent. So I've kind of finished my animation. Now, I still have 2 frames left, so I can choose to either add like 2 more things to that, or I can just delete them. I think I'm just gonna delete my frames. So like we talked about right here, I'm just gonna go down to my 11th frame, delete it, and then I'm gonna go down to the 11th frame again now, and then delete it. And I'm gonna erase this little arrow that I made. All right, so I'm done with my animation. I'm going to hit the toolbar till I see this kind of like playback option. And then I'm going to hit play so I can see what my animation looks like. Perfect, easy enough. All right, now I'm happy with that. If you want to experiment a little bit more, you can slow the animation down. You can speed the animation up. We talked about that with the frames per second. That's going to be totally up to you. But because this is like a beginner tutorial, we're not going to go into all that detail. This is just the basics. So now I'm going to go back to the little home button in my top left-hand screen. All right, Flower 2 is the name of my animation. So then I'm just going to hit these 3 dots down in the corner. I'm going to export. I'm going to keep the format as a video. And then what's kind of cool about this is you see the little music note and the plus sign down at the bottom. You can actually link your animation to your iTunes account. So if you have music that you want to add to your animation, you could do that too. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to hit next. And then I am going to export my video. And it is as simple as that. Thanks, guys.